Hello everyone, this is True Crime Disclosed, a place to tell shocking cases, tearful stories, and valuable lessons about life. In this video we will come to a tragic family story, full of darkness and pain happening in Canada in 2023. This case not only shocked public opinion, but also left behind haunting memories of the breakdown and cruel acts stemming from hatred. Daniel is a successful and wealthy businessman in the field of cryptocurrency investment, who has suffered many losses when his wife passed away in his second marriage to Victoria, a beautiful young model. However, Daniel's distance and lack of attention have created a big void in the family, leaving Liam, his 20-year-old son, alone to face the temptation of evil thoughts and depraved behavior. From a wealthy heir, Liam became a sinner when he used his own stepmother to satisfy his animalistic desires and pushed Victoria's life into hell. When a sensitive video suddenly appears on social media, things start to spiral out of control, pushing those involved into an irreversible chain of events. What really happened in that house? What caused this seemingly happy family to fall into the abyss? And are the dark secrets that have been exposed all? We know the answers will make you shudder. Join us as we follow each clue of the case, uncover the truth behind seemingly innocent faces, and discover what really happened. Daniel, 52, is a successful and wealthy businessman, well known in the cryptocurrency investment community. His career spans decades of remarkable success, especially in the booming crypto industry. He is known as an intelligent, decisive, and visionary person. However, behind the image of a powerful and wealthy man is a stormy and complicated family story. Daniel had a happy marriage with his first wife, a gentle and devoted woman. They had a son named Liam. However, tragedy struck when Daniel's wife died suddenly, when Liam was only 18 years old, leaving Daniel with a huge void in his life. The pain of loss caused the father-son relationship between Daniel and Liam to become increasingly distant. Daniel threw himself into work to forget the pain, leaving Liam with the pain and lack of affection from his father. Liam, 20 years old, is studying science and technology at Stanford University, one of the most prestigious universities in the U.S. Although Liam appears to be a promising young man, inside he is a broken and unstable soul. The separation from his father and the death of his mother left Liam feeling lost, disaffected, and vulnerable to bad behavior. His life was dominated by negative emotions and a lack of direction from his family. After a year of living as a widow, Daniel decided to remarry and marry Victoria. 26 years old, a young and beautiful model, Victoria has a radiant, attractive appearance and has appeared in many fashion magazines. This marriage seemed like a new beginning for Daniel, but inadvertently pushed his family into a new tragedy. Victoria, despite her efforts to fit in, feels out of place in her new role as wife and stepmother. Her relationship with Liam initially feels like the natural distance between strangers and a family. Daniel often travels away from home for work, leaving Victoria and Liam behind in their luxurious but cold mansion. Daniel's absence inadvertently creates conditions for family problems to become more serious. Liam, in the midst of emotional turmoil and confusion, after the death of his mother and the separation from his father, begins to develop inappropriate thoughts about his stepmother Victoria. At first they are just vague thoughts, but gradually they become unhealthy obsessions. The presence of Victoria's youthful and attractiveness only confuses Liam further. Liam couldn't deal with these feelings alone, so he invited his best friend Dylan, who was his age, to his house. The two, who were college classmates, had talked about difficult things in life many times. Liam shares with Dylan his dark intentions towards Victoria, and surprisingly, Dylan not only listens but also plays along. Dylan, 20, is a rebellious and directionless boy. He has no clear moral compass, and engaging in risky or wrongful acts is nothing new to him. When Liam shares his intentions with Victoria, Dylan, instead of trying to stop him, sees it as an interesting challenge and is interested in Liam's plan. The two friends began to plan meticulously, from choosing the right time when Daniel was away on business to how to approach and commit depraved acts on Victoria. They decided to put an aphrodisiac in Victoria's drink to weaken her resistance. The plan was carefully discussed, and neither of them seemed to have any remorse or fear for what they were about to do. That evening, Liam and Dylan decided to carry out the depraved act they had planned. They secretly sliced Damon into a glass of water and gave it to Victoria. When Liam handed her the glass of water, Victoria was a little shy but still took it politely, thanked him, and drank it without any doubt. After a while, the drug started to take effect, making Victoria's body flush and lose control. Victoria sat in the living room, unable to understand the strange feeling that was taking over her body. Meanwhile, Liam and Dylan saw the opportunity. Without hesitation, both dragged Victoria into Liam's room. Despite Victoria's weak resistance, the two young men together committed the act of assault without any remorse or guilt. Liam, with premeditation, secretly placed his phone to record the whole incident. Recording the painful and humiliating image of Victoria, after satisfying his animalistic desires, Dylan quickly left, leaving Victoria in a state of panic and anger. She was completely hurt, both hurt and angry at what had happened. But facing Liam, who had evidence of his threats, Victoria felt helpless. The spoiled young master knew she could do nothing to fight back, and Victoria's pain only deepened as she realized she no longer had control over her own life. The following months became a nightmare for Victoria. Liam, with the sensitive video in his possession, turned her life into a series of threats, intimidation, and coercion. There was never a day that Victoria was at peace. Never a moment that she felt she was in control of her life. Every time Liam wanted to satisfy himself, he used the video to control her, turning her into an unwilling victim forced to obey the sick demands of this spoiled young master. Liam, who had the intimate video in his possession, had been using it to constantly control Victoria. He never missed any opportunity to force his stepmother to submit to him, and these attempts of coercion happened again and again, regardless of time or place. Victoria is no longer free in her own home. Liam, with his arrogant and self-righteous attitude, turns every room in the house into a place to carry out his depraved acts. Liam's bedroom, where he first committed his evil act, became the place where Victoria had to retreat whenever Liam wanted. That small, dark room was now a haunting place for Victoria, a place where she was raped and manipulated in her desperation. Every time she stepped into that room, Victoria felt like she was trapped in a nightmare with no way out. Not stopping there, Liam brazenly dragged Victoria into her and Daniel's bedroom. The room that used to be a private place for husband and wife now became the place where Liam performed disgusting acts that Victoria could not resist. The bed sheets, pillows, and familiar objects around now all become silent witnesses to Liam's degradation and the pain Victoria has to endure. But Liam didn't stop at private spaces. There were times when he forced himself on Victoria right in the living room, the family's common room. The large room with the sofa where the whole family used to sit and chat now became the place where Liam openly committed depraved acts. He didn't care who might come home unexpectedly or see. Liam's brazenness and disregard for boundaries only made Victoria more afraid. Every corner of the house was a potential location for Liam to abuse her. Victoria endured humiliation and pain in her own home, forced to participate in acts she despised, just to keep the video from becoming public. Every time Liam controlled her, but Victoria felt like she was losing a part of her soul, being pushed deeper into the darkness with no way out. Those times there were no words, no explanations, just Liam's threatening eyes and Victoria's weak resistance. There were times when Liam dragged Victoria into his room in the middle of the night when Daniel had already gone to sleep. Victoria had to sneak around like a criminal, trying not to make a sound, while Liam had absolutely no worries about being caught. He knew that Victoria wouldn't dare cry for help or do anything that might wake Daniel. Victoria's patience and silence only pleased Liam more, as he felt he had complete control over her. Other times Liam waited until Daniel was away on business trips to drag Victoria into the bedroom she and Daniel shared. He would casually commit depraved acts on the bed that Daniel and Victoria usually shared. Every time like that, Victoria could only close her eyes. Victoria was always afraid that one day Daniel would suddenly come home and witness what was happening, but the fear of the video being leaked and losing everything always weighed on her the most. There were times when Liam didn't even wait until Daniel was gone. He forced himself on Victoria even when Daniel was still in the house. While Daniel was in the study, Liam would drag Victoria into his room or the living room and commit the evil act. Every little noise, every footstep from the office made Victoria jump in fear, but Liam enjoyed this dangerous game even more. He seemed to want to push Victoria into the most dangerous situation, making her accept all his requests without being able to resist. Victoria felt like she was living in a house that was no longer hers. From the living room, the dining room, to the bedroom all became places where Liam could turn into places to force her to do his will. The times Liam dragged Victoria into the living room and forced himself on the sofa, where just hours before they had been sitting together, watching TV as a family, made her feel weak and humiliated. During those days, Victoria lived in fear and under Liam's control. Every time she saw him, her heart ached, not knowing when she would be forced again, not knowing how to escape the cycle of humiliation and pain. Victoria gradually lost her confidence, lost the small joys in everyday life. Every time Liam entered the room, he took away not only her body but also her soul and self-esteem. According to information from the case, after a long time of being threatened and forced by her husband's son, Liam, Victoria decided not to submit to him anymore. The times Liam used sensitive videos to control her caused Victoria to suffer both physical and mental trauma. Finally, feeling unable to continue living in fear and humiliation, Victoria decided to fight back and challenge Liam that she would reveal the whole story to her husband Daniel. However, Victoria's actions did not scare Liam as she expected. On the contrary, Liam decided to make public the sensitive video he used to threaten Victoria. Liam uploaded the video to social media platforms, and in a short time the clip went viral. The video shows Victoria, a young model and Liam's stepmother, with two young men in scandalous intimate moments. Victoria's reputation was quickly destroyed, and she became the focus of public criticism and scrutiny. The images that had once been a tool of intimidation became a weapon that destroyed Victoria's life in ways she could never have imagined. While Victoria was drowning in grief and shame, her husband Daniel also learned about the video. Upon watching the clip, Daniel quickly realized that the people inside were his wife and son. Feelings of anger, shock, and betrayal flooded his mind. Daniel immediately wanted to return home to face and resolve everything. His anger was not only directed at Liam, who had hurt his family, but also at Victoria, whom he trusted and loved. While Daniel was still abroad before he could return, a serious incident occurred at his home. After the sensitive video was released, Victoria fell into a state of despair and extreme anger. Unable to bear the pain Liam caused her, she decided to act in a way that no one could have expected. On the evening of March 9, 2023, Victoria secretly drugged Liam's food and waited until he fell into a deep, unresisting sleep. Taking advantage of Liam's complete inability to defend himself, Victoria tied him up, wrapped his mouth in tape, and tied him to a chair. In a fit of rage and pain, she used a knife to cut off Liam's genitals. Blood flowed continuously, spreading throughout the room, creating a haunting scene. Liam lost too much blood and was slowly falling into critical condition. Although he was tied up and unable to call for help, his eyes were still filled with horror and pain. Victoria, in her frenzy, was unable to stop or undo what had been done. Liam was found dead in a chair, bound and bandaged with a bloody wound. The room became the scene of a gruesome murder, marking a tragic end to a haunting and harrowing series of events. After the crime, Victoria fell into a state of panic. She knew that her actions had gone too far and that there was no way back. In fear and desperation, Victoria decided to flee Canada, hoping to escape the punishment she knew would come. Immediately after preparing to pack her belongings, she quickly left the house, which had now become the scene of a horrific crime. When Daniel returned home from a business trip, he could not have imagined the scene of horror and heartbreak he would encounter. The house that once held family memories had become the scene of a brutal crime. Daniel walked in and was immediately shocked to see his son Liam dead, tied to a chair, his mouth covered with duct tape and blood all over the floor. Daniel collapsed in indescribable pain, both angry and horrified, as he realized the truth of what had happened. Police quickly arrived at the scene after receiving the report. They conducted an autopsy and investigated the cause of Liam's death. Through the investigation, the police quickly determined that the perpetrator was none other than Victoria, Liam's stepmother, who had acted out of anger and extreme revenge. A manhunt was immediately launched to find Victoria, who disappeared from the scene after committing the crime. Wanted notices were issued across the roads and airports. While going through the paperwork to flee the country, Victoria was apprehended by airport security. She was unable to escape the police and was quickly handcuffed, ending her escape attempt. Taken back to the police station, Victoria is forced to confront what she has done. Panic and guilt overwhelm her. But now there is no escape from the consequences of her actions. At the police station, Victoria sat facing the investigators, exhausted and worn out. When faced with the police's questions, she no longer had any intention of hiding or beating around the bush. In a state of confusion between despair and regret, Victoria decided to tell the whole story, from the days of being threatened by Liam to the moment leading up to her brutal act. Victoria admitted that after being sexually assaulted by Liam and Dylan, and having the sensitive video recorded, she lived in anxiety-filled days, being threatened and coerced by her husband's own mind, repeatedly used the video to control her, forcing her to submit to his depraved demands multiple times in multiple locations throughout the house. The threats and control pushed her into a state of despair and mental exhaustion, causing her to gradually lose control of her life. Victoria continued to say that after being humiliated by Liam so many times and the video was made public, she could no longer bear it. In a fit of hysteria and extreme anger, she decided to drug Liam and take revenge by cutting off his genitals. She did not think of the consequences, and when she realized that Liam had died from blood loss, Victoria could only run away in fear and panic. Victoria's testimony at the police station revealed a tragic and twisted family story. She admitted to everything she had done, but in her eyes it was not just an act of violence, but also the result of months of extreme pressure. Victoria couldn't hold back tears as she detailed the suffering she had to endure, as well as the regret her out-of-control actions had cost Liam's life. The case quickly became the focus of public attention, exposing the dark side of family dysfunction, manipulation, and the tragic consequences when people are pushed into a corner. Victoria, despite confessing to all her crimes, the consequences of her actions cannot be reversed, and she faces years in prison for what she has done. Victoria and Dylan's trial is scheduled for November 15th, 2023, just over 8 months after the horrific crime. The trial has attracted a great deal of public and media attention due to its complexity and the family drama it has exposed. The trial took place with much emotion and special attention from the public. During the trial, Victoria admitted all her crimes and also recounted the days of being threatened, intimidated, and coerced by Liam. She expressed deep remorse, but also shared the pain and pressure she had endured for a long time. Defense lawyers tried to clarify Victoria's psychological circumstances and unstable mental state when she attacked Liam. After investigation and trial, the court sentenced Victoria to 15 years in prison for murder. However, due to mitigating circumstances related to psychological pressure and loss of control at the time of the crime, she was considered for parole and could be released after 10 years of serving her sentence. Although this sentence was somewhat lighter than the maximum, it still left a painful mark on Victoria's life. Liam's friend Dylan, who joined in the initial abuse, also faced justice. He was sentenced to 5 years in prison for assaulting and contributing to causing Victoria grievous harm. Daniel, who was in the midst of a series of family tragedies, suffered an incomparable pain. The horrific loss of his son and the sight of his second wife being sentenced to prison sent him into a state of despair. Everything happened so suddenly and cruelly that Daniel not only lost his family but also had to face the truth that it was the lack of care and distance in the family that contributed to pushing everyone to this disastrous outcome. After watching this case, what do you think about Victoria's decision to fight back against Liam? Was there any other way she could have handled the situation other than violence? After hearing about the verdicts in Dylan, do you feel that justice was served in this case? Share your thoughts with everyone in the comments.